episode of Vitality Vault by Vitality Ventures Group. Join us with Stacy from our local news station, KGW's sales department. She works directly with marketing and production, so we have a ton of questions for her. Shannon and Stacy have known each other for a little while. They met here on the West Coast, but they're definitely some East Coast girls at heart. They'll get right into that here, you'll see. If you're interested and want to connect, I'll list Stacy's contact info below. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe. We don't want you to miss out on future episodes. Empowered women, empower women. Take it away, Shannon and Stacy.
Ashkenazi is the region. It's just a classification of where your Jewish roots are. So that would be like Poland, Russia. Well, what is now the Ukraine?
Okay.
Or what they now call Kyiv, which when my great grandmother was born, there was called Kiev.
Mm-hmm.
That is the region that makes you Ashkenazi.
But why don't I ever hear about other kinds of Jews?
Well,
why
there
do
are
I only
Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
Which are less common. So those are black Jews or Jews from Spain,
Okay.
or like Hispanic Jews would be Sephardic Jews. And I don't know if there are other tribes beyond or other classifications of Jewishness other than Ashkenazi and Sephardic.
So in New Jersey, and we are podcasting, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Growing up, and to my Bronx friend on the East Coast, all the Jewish people that I hung out with knew they were probably Ashkenazi Jews.
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
Because when they came from Europe, that's where they were fleeing from. Like my great-grandmother's family fled before World War II, and they fled from the pogrom, which was during World War I.
What's the pogrom?
They were like the precursors to the Nazis.
Oh.
You would love it because you're a history buff.
First of all,
look up the pogrom.
Okay. Did you watch Masters of the Air on Hulu? I think it was on Hulu.
No. Is that the one with the young guy that was in
Elvis?
Oh, no, I
He
didn't
played
watch that
Elvis. I think it was Apple TV.
Why is my watch talking
I don't
to me?
know.
Go away, Siri.
Masters of the Air. It's about the Bloody 100th, which was they were bombers. I'm going to get the number wrong. Just go with bombers.
Like B-12 bombers? Is it B-12?
I don't see. That's why I didn't say. B-52?
B-12's a vitamin? I told you it was going to be like herding cats today.
B-12 bombers? I knew it didn't sound right. Okay. I think it's B-52.
I don't know.
Right?
I keep
That
thinking of
sounds
the
better.
music, the B-52s. We can start
Oh, shit. Is that wrong, too? Is it not
No,
B-52?
It is the B-52s.
Oh, right. Is that where the...
Rock Lobster.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Love Shack for those younger people in the room.
Yes.
Rock Lobster for us
So
older
anyway,
folks.
there's the Bloody 100th.
Okay. Focus.
Focus. They were stationed in England. They were American B-52 bomber team. And so they were very famous, whatever. So anyway, the Masters of the Air is based upon the true story of these guys. It was... I'm kind of forced into watching World War II things because of my son and all the boys in my house, because every boy alive somehow has a gene where they need to learn about World War II shit.
Yeah.
And normally I'm like, I can't. I'll do it.
I struggle watching that stuff.
You will not
five
struggle.
times before I could even sit through like Schindler's List.
No,
it's
I know.
just too painful.
This is phenomenal.
Okay, good.
I'm so bummed it's over. And there's only 9 episodes, and then it's done.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's so good.
And you said Amazon, Hulu?
I think it's either Apple or Hulu.
Okay.
I don't know.
We have so many. I
have them all.
I looked at my husband the other day and I'm like, we need to get rid of something so we can put Netflix back, because at one point Netflix, if you remember, kind of tanked and there was nothing really good on it.
Yeah, but you know what's on it now?
There's so many things.
Vikings. I just started watching Vikings.
Okay.
Have you seen that, Maddie?
Is that about Vikings?
Well, it's about. I watch weird shit. Maybe I am a boy.
Don't.
I watch boy shows.
You like
history stuff,
right?
Yep.
That's always.
I feel like I'm
since I met
learning
you. Yeah.
while I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's about
like
the
that
Norsemen.
Historical fiction. When you read a really good historical fiction book, that it's infused with true stories that are related to the day. Like there was one that I read also about World War II, which I avoid at all costs, but seemed to find me. It was called Sarah's Key.
Okay.
And it was about a family that was hiding from the Nazis. And it had all these historical facts about World War II within the fictional story. And so I love stuff like that.
So like so I really don't know if I've read a lot of historical fiction. I've read a lot of nonfiction.
I have a few
like
that
John
I could
Adams
give you that
and
you
all
would
the
like.
Lewis and Clark stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
But I mean, Anne Frank.
Oh, God.
Did you ever go visit her house?
I did not. I have never been
So
to
tiny.
any of those. I haven't even been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.
I haven't
been to
there.
Washington, D.C. I know you're looking at me.
Wait a minute.
Stop the press!
How is
I've
that
never
possible?
visited Washington, D.C.
You're from the Bronx.
I know. I never visited.
It's literally a fucking 3-hour train ride.
Never did it. Well, and when I was growing up, like in high school, that was not a thing. Like,
I'm sorry. I was growing up in high school around
We
the same
didn't
time
do
as
that.
you. I went to DC.
Right, but you were also. I was not,
We went a lot for lacrosse, though, I must say that.
right, and you were also from a more affluent part of New York than I was. Like,
That's true. And let's
so
stop
we
this
couldn't afford
for a
that.
second. You're from the Bronx.
Yeah.
J-Lo is from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Did you watch this?
Kerry Washington is also from the Bronx.
Is she really?
Yes, she is. Lots
So
of
now
powerful women
they're
from
all
the
your
Bronx.
your age, around your age. Did you know them?
No, they were all. The Bronx is pretty large.
I know.
So the Bronx actually was all farms at one point. The guy who, the name of the borough, the Bronx, comes from the gentleman who I think owned the most farms in that area, and his last name was Bronk, and that's how they
Really?
came up with the name of the borough for the Bronx. Yes. The Bronx has a fascinating history,
I
which you
remember.
also would enjoy.
I would enjoy. The Bronx was not a place that we would go to when we
Well,
were growing
who
up
would-
because it was scary.
Yeah,
But
listen,
even
the Bronx was
Brooklyn
scary
was-
when I grew up.
But even if you wouldn't even go to Brooklyn, you go to Brooklyn Heights.
Brooklyn, listen,
But you will go
Brooklyn
to Brooklyn.
has changed completely.
I know.
Brooklyn used to
It's
be
gentrified now.
Yes, Brooklyn used to be a place where there were maybe one or two neighborhoods that you would go to in Brooklyn, and the rest of Brooklyn
My
you
gosh,
avoided by
Hoboken. We would never have gone to Hoboken in
Well,
Jersey
that's New
City.
Yeah, right, Jersey.
Because that was, you would go and get shot or
Or
stabbed
Newark.
there. And now, well, Newark is still shithole from what I understand. But Hoboken in Jersey City is super gentrified.
Yeah.
Like,
Not affordable gentrified now.
correct.
Yeah, which is, I find that whole I struggle with, I understand gentrification. I struggle with how many people it displaces.
It does.
Because unfortunately, there aren't
it does
places to put.
displace people, but I do know, obviously not for everybody, but with Jersey City and Hoboken, it was those teeny tiny, with immigrants and the Italians,
Yeah.
and they lived all like, 10 in a one room thing.
Yeah.
Well, they made a shitload of money when they sold their stuff.
Oh, of course they did.
Boatloads.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is what it is.
yeah. It's
But
how life works.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening here in Ridgefield.
Well, it's happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in Portland.
What's going on in Portland? Okay, so we should probably introduce you.
Yeah, that'd be
Stacy.
great.
So we've been talking for a little bit. So we
Yes.
will introduce you. Stacy, I'm
don't
going to
wanna say my
I'm
last
going to
name.
do it. I'm going to do it. Stacy's my friend. I still not really sure how the name works. Criscuolo.
Criscuolo.
Crisco.
Right. So that's how I always tell
Crisco
people.
Low.
They're like, what is, first of all, the U is really confusing for people. So I'm like, just ignore the U and just say Crisco, like Crisco oil, and then Crisco, and then low. So Criscuolo.
I always say Crisolo.
I know. It's fine. I love you anyway. Even if lots of people, listen, I have to phonetically spell my name. When people ask me, like when you call the insurance company and they go, can you spell your last name? And I'm like, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
And literally it's like,
What was your maiden name?
Glazer.
Glazer. Like
Glaser.
Like
Glazer.
Paul Michael Glazer.
Yes, who I told everyone I was related to when I was growing up.
Which was Starsky.
Yeah.
See? Maddie, do you have any idea what we're talking about? Nope.
She'll Google it later. Yeah, he was my favorite. I never was a blonde guy.
No,
I always liked dark hair.
No, never.
Yeah, I
What
know.
is that about?
I don't know. I think that's just, your genetic makeup.
Yeah, do you think it is?
I do. I was just never attracted to fair-skinned people. I mean, most of the people in my life were obviously, like we were talking about, of ethnic. We were very
They're the
ethnic-
Italians or
Right,
the
or the Russian Jews that
yep.
look like me.
The Greeks,
Right. Yeah, and I grew
Yep.
up in New York, and that was just mostly who I was attracted to, was more, people that had more melanin. No offense to the people that have less melanin.
No, I love the more
like
melanin people too.
Melanin.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, when I first moved to Colorado, I'm sure I said this a million times, and that was years ago, and then went back to Jersey after that. But for that period of time when I first went to Colorado, within the first week, I remember thinking, where the fuck is everybody else? It was just only
that was really
white
hard
people.
for me moving here.
Yes.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons I actually love my church, because my church is probably one of the most diverse places I have ever been in my 25 years of living in Portland. And I know you'd never know that I've been living here for 25 years because I still have my New York accent, which I hope never goes away.
I don't. Well, it's not going to go. At this point,
no.
I think
I'm
you're
just going to
sticking.
embrace it for what it is. Exactly.
So you've been here 25 years.
26 in July.
26 in July. I've been here 8.
Oh,
so I've got
okay.
a lot.
You've been other places. Like I went from New York. I went the Bronx to upstate New York for college, back to the Bronx to Oregon.
Okay.
So
yeah. And so because you're here, and are we calling this the vault?
Yes.
Okay. The
I
vault.
love that this is
in
the
the
vault.
vault.
Yeah.
We're talking to women in business, and successful women in business, and the cool shit.
Yeah.
The cool checks.
Thank you.
So
I'm flattered to be here.
now, when I met you, you were working for KGW.
No. When I met you, I was working for KATU.
Okay.
And I had been at KATU before I left, 24 and a half years in media. Prior to that, I sold advertising in New York as well. And then I had an opportunity to move to KGW, and I did that in July of 2023, and it's been fantastic.
I love, and I think this is, I think, take note of this, ladies. When you move to a new career, or not a new career, same career, but a different company after how many years?
24 and a half.
24 and a half years. You're 58 years old, right?
Yeah. I was
That's
58.
phenomenal.
It was
because
yeah.
let's talk about. I mean, that's first of all, it's ballsy as hell.
Thank you. You never know how much how capable you are of doing something. That's the beauty of hindsight, right? And I think as we age, we recognize we have that capability to go, oh, I actually did that thing that I thought I could never do. So I did have an opportunity to go work for my old boss, who was my manager at KATU and became a manager at KGW. But I reached out to her random. She was in her job 3 days, and I was like, hey, I'm available. I just felt stale where I was. And I felt like I started to feel less than, and I started questioning my abilities, and I felt like I wasn't valued. And up until that point, I loved working at KATU. The people there are amazing. I just didn't feel like it was a good fit anymore.
And I don't think that's unusual, and I don't want to get into a menopause talk and then into
fair.
an aging talk and things like that.
Right.
But the feeling less than and feeling,
do I still have it?
Right.
Do I still have what it takes?
I think that's normal.
Yeah.
But you making that jump at 58 is not typical.
No.
And again, I bow down to you because that is... Most people just sit around being frustrated and they're like, I'm too old. I can't do it now. I don't want to start. It's not that it's scary. I think.
No, it is scary.
It's scary, but women who've achieved a certain amount of success, they've been through the scary. They know they can get through that part. I think it's the age becomes such a
do I still have
limiting
value?
factor.
Do I still have value? Is there still...
Is anybody going to want me?
Right, exactly. And is there still gas in my engine? Or am I slow? And that was kind of what I was thinking. Like, am I ready to fade into the sunset and retire and do the, whatever, the consulting thing or the side gig thing? And I was like, no, I'm not ready to walk away from this yet. I love what I do. I love...
So what do you do? Let's talk about what do you do?
So what I do is similar to what you do, maybe on a bigger scale, because I have a bigger platform and a bigger opportunity with my company, with Tegna, who owns KGW, the NBC affiliate. And I go out and I find local businesses that need to brand and build their voice. And I have the platform of television to do that.
Yep.
And I also have the ability to do it digitally, so lower in the funnel, right? So I explain to people when I meet with them and they don't know what they want to do with marketing, television's like the top of the umbrella.
Right.
Like that big piece, that shield that covers you, right? Because of its reach and the ability to have the frequency of the messaging over time. But then you need now, because of our digital world that we live in, and the fact that no one is just watching. I mean, let's face it, the days of get up and change the channel, right? And there's 5 stations, you know, maybe 6, including like the 2 independents.
Right.
People are getting content on so many different screens. And so we have the capability of taking the message that we're broadcasting on KGW and sharing it in a lower in the funnel, targeting by age, by income, by words that you search, by where you live. It's fascinating and a little Big Brother-ish, to be honest. People can get a little intimidated by it.
You know what's interesting? I mean, we all see it where we'll have a conversation and I'll go on my phone and
all of a sudden there's that ad.
And I get like, oh my God, that's horrible. But then my marketing brain kicks in and I go, oh, that's so awesome. I mean, what are we going to do? We're not going to do anything about it.
No.
Right.
And I think they're trying to, we try to be very respectful of, HIPAA rules and regulations. We make sure that our clients understand what we're doing is done in a way that's not distasteful. Like I always, especially with women, it's kind of cliche, but it's like, those shoes that you looked at on Nordstrom that all of a sudden are following you wherever you go, and you're like, oh, it's like a sign from God that I should buy the shoes.
Right.
Like, and most people understand that, right? They get the concept of like, yeah, I looked at those and I didn't purchase, but there's that subtle reminder of, oh, I did look at those.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about like how distracted we are on the daily. How much information is coming at us? And so what I do is I make sure that when somebody wants to come to your business, that we are messaging in a way that's going to assure that when they search for whatever term, whether it's be consulting services or Botox or dental implants near me, that whoever I'm working with, their message is served to their potential customers.
Okay, but that's different. Because I do talk a lot about the SEO on your website. This is different.
Yes, this
so
is
explain the difference.
Right. So what you're doing is more of like an internal fine tuning to make sure that messaging organically is getting served out to people.
Right.
What we do is we make sure that we're getting the outbound marketing.
Okay.
Right. So like, how do we make sure that when somebody searches for I'm using Botox just because it's one of my favorite categories is aesthetic medicine, and I know you can relate to that. But like, how do I choose a specific med spa unless people know said med spa exists?
Right.
The way we make people aware of said med spa existence or their existence is to market, is to put their messaging out in a way that brands the company so that when people search, they go, oh, I remember seeing that or hearing that on KGW.
Right.
Or I remember when I was watching Netflix or Roku or whatever digital channel they saw your ad, which then makes them go and type your name into the search bar.
Right.
As opposed to just a generic search.
Right.
Because we don't want to be generic in business. We want to brand our companies for the services we provide that are unique to us and make our businesses special. Why should I come to you instead of somebody else?
Right.
And that's what our messaging does. We tell your story.
You're search engine marketing as opposed to search engine optimization.
Well, yes, kind of. I mean, we don't do search engine marketing per se. We are the catalyst that makes people search you.
Right.
We are the thing that causes the search. We are the trigger for the search.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So you mentioned TV.
Yep.
And I know there's a couple of those morning shows. I know people go on the morning shows,
we have a local show called Hello Rose City. It's about a year or so new to the...
Oh, is it new?
It's pretty new. The energy on the show is amazing. It's a fantastic force of 2 people who literally get that thing up and running. 3 people now that are plus our
So is it
producers.
just like a little talk show kind of thing?
It is. It's a half an hour show every day. Not every day. Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. It runs for half an hour. And it's an opportunity for a business to come on and provide more of a long form platform to talk about their business.
And something like that, once they have that, whatever, half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it comes out to be, you have that. That's a lot of content.
Well, each show has 4 or 5 segments that are 5 minutes in length. So then what we do is we will share a link to that story that you can then, the business can then post out on their social pages. They can put it on their website. I tell people if they're doing email marketing, I'm like, put the link to the video in your email marketing.
100%.
Like think about a person who's starting a new business or who has a service that they're trying to provide, right? And they're trying to promote said service or grow that portion of their business. What better way if you're doing email marketing to say, hey, click this link to learn more and watch a 5-minute interview.
Oh, 100%.
And content.
I am a huge email marketing fan. You know that.
Yes.
Now, saying that, most people, if they, and we'll say small businesses, if they do email marketing, because it takes time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. They do it, I don't want to be a bitch, but they do it wrong.
They do it
because
half-assed.
they just
they don't do it the right way.
Throw up their graphics.
Yeah.
These are our specials. There's no relatability. There's no engagement.
No.
There's no click this. There's no there's no connection.
Right.
But something like that creates that immediate relatability because now you're having that person who you may go see talking.
But here's the interesting thing. We're talking about how we stay in front of people, right? So somebody watches that segment. If we place a pixel on their website, and they watch the segment and then go to that person's website. So say I have a aesthetic clinic that comes on Hello Rose City. We send the link to that said aesthetic clinic. They post that link into their email marketing campaign. Somebody then clicks on that, watches the video, goes to that person's website. There's a pixel that's on their website that will then retarget that person. That will then follow that person and be like, hey, you came to XYZ Aesthetics website. We're offering some specials this month. Click here.
Right.
It's the repetition of the messaging.
Yes.
And I think what people don't often understand is the interconnectivity or the interweaving
They do not.
of all the pieces. They think I'm going to just do social.
I'm going to or I'm going to
only
put
gonna
this up
email.
here. I had a client the other day who I was talking to and she's like, "Well, I put this up on Eventbrite." And I'm like, but what you didn't do, right? But what you did was take all the people who you want to your website and put them somewhere else.
Yeah,
you're taking.
Right, you've got to bring them back to you.
It's a connection.
Yes.
So if you're going to put something on social, if you're going to put something wherever you put it, the goal is driving back to your website.
Well, and your point about the goal. What is the goal?
Right.
Like my job as a consultant is to ask you, what am I measuring? Am I measuring clicks? Am I measuring phone calls? Am I measuring form fills? What am I measuring? And that enables me to then determine of the assets I have, whether it's broadcast or digitally, how do we intertwine that with what you're already doing and make it a cohesive and successful campaign to lift you in awareness so that when people search for whatever it is you are the specialist in, they search for you. They're not searching for overarching umbrella of some category.
Let me ask you this, because this is I love anything like I love talking about marketing. It's crazy. So say you have a client and they're like, I want to be, I have a new company, new business, I want to promote it. I want to be on your 5-minute news section. Because I want to drive people to my website, which literally is what should happen.
Yes.
And then whatever that conversion they have. And not that it's your job.
No.
Do you look at their website and do you go, you need to fix this shit first?
It is my
job. Okay. Because driving someone to a website that is a freaking disaster or has no SEO or there's no way to convert, it's a waste of everybody's time and money.
My job as an account executive and as a consultant to you as a business person, first of all, I'm coming to you and I'm asking you for your money. Right? Your money. It's not some large corporation's money. I'm talking to small local businesses, medium-sized businesses. It's not that I can't work with larger organizations, but where I cultivate relationships.
I like working with small business,
right?
don't
and having
you?
Well, because you get to be part of their success story.
Yes.
You get to say, like, I helped you do this. You never want to take credit for it because that's not a partnership.
Right.
But you are a consultant. You are asked to guide and instruct. And I have a skill set in what I do, and you as a business owner have a skill set in what you do. So together, we need to make sure that all the right pieces are in place before we do something. And part of what I do is also a recap every month. Like, I go back and I say, okay, this is what we did this month. This is what you spent. This is how many people we reached. This is how many people clicked through to your website. This is how many people filled out a form because of what we did together marketing-wise.
Right.
That said, one of my biggest pet peeves with a new business that I'm working with is that they're not doing their end of the work.
Correct.
They're not letting their front staff know. We're marketing right now. You need to ask people how they heard about us. And when they say Google, you need to ask them, why did you search for us on Google? Because
or not only that, a lot of times they'll have the people, the rest of the people in their business not even know what their specials are, not even know what they're doing.
Like, are you educating your front office? Are you educating your staff about what your messaging is? What are you what are you trying to promote this month? What is our messaging, right? What do we want to convey when the person on the other end picks up the phone? How quickly are we responding when somebody fills out a chat box or fills out a Q&A form?
And are they credentialing? Are they just one-word answers? You're saying, thank you, welcome to, I appreciate you reaching out. Did you got a credential?
Yeah, and here's the other thing. You, ultimately, we're trying to drive your revenue. Right? So part of the challenge with broadcast in and of itself, like if you're just going to do television and you're not going to do any digital marketing, we don't have the same abilities always with broadcasts over the air, not streaming, over the air, which is different, to measure the way we do digitally. There's not a URL to click.
Right.
There may be a specific phone number. Some people are into QR codes, which I have an opinion about, but we won't get into that now. So then it becomes, are you asking the questions? How did you hear about me? Where did you see the message? Is your revenue higher this month than it was last month? What are you doing differently that has caused that increase in revenue?
Right.
And it's interesting where people are like, well, we can't really attribute it for sure to broadcast. Why not? If that's what you added.
And
your numbers are going up.
Yeah. Well, I think what it is, Stacy, is, and Maddie, I know I've talked to you about this, is people generally don't understand that marketing isn't just a bunch of pretty pictures.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's over time.
Yes. And it takes time, and there is analysis, and there's changing, and they don't understand it. I mean, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago. She's like, oh, I have to do my marketing. I need to do that. And I started talking about it, and she goes, oh, I'll just read some Google. I'll read some Google articles this weekend. I'll figure it out.
No, you will not.
I know.
And then that's when we get, well, it didn't. I tried it and it didn't work. Well, did you consult with someone, or you read a Google article and thought that you, like, am I an expert in your business?
Right.
Could I go on to Google and read about...
You're going to go shoot some Botox in someone's face?
Injecting and then being like, oh, good, let me go and check now. No, I have 30 some odd years of experience.
But I also think because marketing is so ingrained in our lives, everywhere you look, you have been, what you own, you've been marketed to. I think because it's almost a part of us that people don't get it.
They don't get the nuances. And I'm thinking of my husband, because my husband's a painter. And when we lived in New York, he had his own business. He did amazing Trump loyal rag rolling, like restoration on old brownstones. Very, very complicated and detailed work. And then he would paint. And people would be like, well, why am I going to pay a painter? I'll paint. And then they try to paint. And they're like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
This is really hard.
Right.
Like, it's hard to make it look like there are no roller marks on your wall.
Right.
It's hard to make sure the walls are even. Oh, do I need to put up, like, some plaster before I paint this wall because there's such a big crack in it that I can't just paint over it? Like, they don't understand...
Well, there's a reason
to, right? Like, my goal always as a marketer is to be your partner. and to feel like even when it's going bad, I want to know.
Right.
Because how can I fix it
Right.
if you don't tell me?
Right.
Like
Because it's not perfect and it changes constantly. And with AI, I want to talk to you about AI.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with AI, by the way. But what you were saying, 100%. And I was talking to Summer, who is an ejector, and she was asking me something. I said, listen, I stay in my lane. I know what my lane is. It is not anything to do with provider stuff. I can tell you how to market. I can tell you what clients need. I can tell you the psychology, why people are attracted to it and how they need to click through. But I got to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And I also expect... Shit, I mean, if I go get my hair cut, they'll be like, what do you want to do? I'm like,
you tell me.
You're the professional.
Right.
It's not my job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think, and I'm not saying you can't have little pieces of knowledge of things. That's great. But when it's your business and you have taken your passion and you've dumped hundreds or thousands of dollars into something, and then you go, well, why am I not doing well? Well, what are you doing? And if you're either not doing marketing, doing it yourself, let's not talk about fonts. Oh God.
Yeah, my son's a graphic designer. Let's not go there.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
The curlies.
He's like,
Maddie, you know what we're talking about, right?
Who approved this font? Like, who thought this font would be a good idea?
It's amazing.
And it's like the details. It's the devil is in the details.
And that's when you can see the difference between an amateur and a professional.
Yeah.
And it's not even something... Sometimes you can't even put your finger on it. You can just look at something and go,
this is not right.
They did this.
Yeah.
It's obvious. It's not obvious to the person doing it, but it's obvious to any...
And our job as marketers is to be careful how we tell someone their baby's ugly. Right? Like if we want to earn their business and their trust. Now that said, if it was you and me, we'd be like, listen.
I'd be like, you suck.
Shit looks like crap.
I said it to someone the other day. She's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, well, you're not going to grow your business with this website.
Right. But when you're dealing with someone who's tentative and uncertain and perhaps frightened of giving over the reins, then that's when you and I have to
try to be nicer.
Our education and our expertise and provide it in a way that is palatable for someone.
Because we're only trying to help. The intention is always good. I love seeing women, especially women, be successful. I freaking love small business, watching them grow. Yeah. It's exciting.
Well, and it's also what I love is when I make an impression.
Yeah.
When a client looks at me and goes, I really like you. And I really like working with you. And I really like your candor and your willingness to go, you know what, I don't know. Let me find that out. Like, I'm not a shoot from the hip person. You know, that was one of the lessons I learned early on in my sales career. I had a guy who was a...
No BS. There has to be no BS.
My trainer was an ex-Marine drill sergeant, God rest his soul. And that was one of the lessons that I learned very early on in New York when I was 25 years old. Never shoot from the hip. You're always better saying, you know what, I don't know the answer to that.
Let me check in.
Yeah. You know, like, we're people too. We're not trying to make our clients feel intimidated or ashamed.
No.
We want to
help. I know, it's exciting. It's great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
I love it.
Well, I think some people almost don't trust that kind of honesty and because they're like, well, what are you trying to get out of it? No, I
had a client who used to tell me, you're the best salesperson I've ever met. And I was like, why?
Oh, Maddie, they've said that to me so many times. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson.
And that's what I say. Like, I'm not selling you. I believe in what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it for 30 years. Like, there is value in what I have to offer you.
Don't you almost get a little offended when people say you're a great salesman?
Yes, I kind of do.
I've been told that too. I'm like, I am not a salesperson. I do not sell anything. I tell you what I think, and I'm being honest with you.
Right. And I also understand that I have a ton of competition.
Yeah,
and you also... There are a million people that can do what I can do. Right? There are other stations that people can work with. There are other digital agencies that people can work with. There is nothing more empowering to me when someone trusts me and says, of all the people I met with, I choose you. There's an accountability that comes with that to me. And I still take that very seriously.
Well, and that's why they choose you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. That's why they choose you, because you care.
I do care. I care very much, and I also care when I fail.
Right.
Like I don't.
And failure happens.
Yeah, and it does.
And then you adjust and go, okay, how do I fucking fix this?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to recover.
And then you don't sleep at night, and then
you have those middle of the night moments of like, oh, did I do that? Mm-hmm. Did I submit that? I mean, there's so much. Mm-hmm. Also, back-end work, as I'm sure you know, that is involved in launching a marketing campaign. Well,
most of it's back-end work.
Yeah.
And then people see the things, they're like, oh, that's great. But there's so much behind the scenes. I mean, I'm getting redundant at this point, but I always say there's an entire engine that is running what you see. That's a pretty car, but you need the engine.
Yeah.
You know?
You do.
And, you need to fuel it correctly,
and we need to meet people's customers where they're at.
Small businesses are tough because they don't have the money the big companies have, who can hire every app.
You can start small.
Yes,
right. Like you can start with the pieces that you provide,
small and intelligently. What am I going to get out of this?
That lift their brand awareness, that lift their name recognition, that move them up in organic. Because let's face it, the G word is change. Yeah.
Because I know people are like AI, and AI is great. I mean, we're not going to have any, robots running our lives for at least the next few years. Let's say
not in our lifetime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I know we're changing the way we're approaching marketing in a sense. Obviously, original content is even more important now than it's ever been.
Right.
Because and I love AI.
Yeah. AI has its place.
I talk to Chad, my pretend AI boyfriend, every day.
Have a sexy voice?
He has no voice at this point.
Oh, he's just.
But as Maddie said, I'm now cheating on him with Claude because I do like Claude as well.
Oh, okay, good to know, because I'm always curious about these. So I'll use Chat GPT. Or I'll use
Chad.
Is that what you call him?
Chad. Yeah, that's Chad.
Okay.
I personify everything.
All right. I should know this about
yes.
you. I think AI has its place. And as a matter of fact, I just had a conversation with one of my coworkers about this, where sometimes you need to spark something, a creative
100%.
juice, or like for me, I'm searching for a valid business reason to reach out to a company. So I'll type in, trends in HVAC for 2024.
Right.
Or pain points for HVAC companies in 2024. Whatever it is.
Well, AI is great because AI does have a creative element to it.
Yeah.
So, and it's supposed to have a creative element to it. Whereas Google, you're typing in and you're getting links.
Yes.
You have to be very careful that the creative element that Chad tells you, or Claude, or whoever you're using, is real and right.
That's why we still need to be on the other end of what we're finding.
There has to be a human loop.
Absolutely. There must be. You cannot rely. I mean, you can't just lift a sentence from Chad and put it in an email and think it's going to resonate with the business owner.
No.
You've got to make it.
There has to be the human loop in there.
Yeah.
It's great to get started. It is great.
Exactly.
Even for blog posts and things like that, but you still have to insert that human loop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, they just had a whole thing. I just saw it I think it was on the NBC Nightly News with musicians. That 200 famous musicians just signed a petition to control the usage of music, and like not allowing AI to be the new composers.
Do you know what that
writers.
Immediately popped into my head when you said that? Napster. When they tried to control Napster. Yeah. Well, that didn't work.
No.
I mean, that trying to control progress doesn't generally work. You kind of have to adjust to it.
Right.
I think that human element, it never is really replaced. And with AI and with marketing and with Google and all the things, the more authentic you are now, the more video, the more personality you have now, that's how you're going to stand out.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So anybody relying on AI and not injecting the human portion of it and saying, okay, good, this will do it. Oh, AI will write my website. You're not going to get very far.
No, that's where you're going to fall short.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's a challenge.
It's
good. But I will say we are going to we're adjusting the way we're marketing a little bit.
Because of AI?
Because of AI.
Okay, what are you doing different?
AI has given people information that, like, say, let's talk about the med spa, because, you know, we're very ingrained and we love the med spa industry. Yeah. 10 years ago, nobody knew what microneedling was. Nobody knew what Botox was, what it did, whatever. Let's even say 5 years ago, nobody knew what semaglutide was, right? Yeah. Or is. Now it's very... the words are there. People understand. They get it. They get. You could get the spots, click, you know, with the lasers, or it's not that foreign land where I don't understand anything. Right. And now you have AI where you can just ask, "What's the best treatment?" Because I got spots on my face, right?
Exactly.
So, not that we're not going to be educating as we move forward, but I do think, in order to stand out, the sameness has to go away. And when I say the sameness, and we'll talk about med spas, but this will relate to any kind of business where there's a number of, let's say, brick and mortars. Yeah. The sameness in how we promote things. So in the past, we've promoted as IPL or microneedling or whatever. That's the sameness. I think for med spas and even other industry, small business owners, to stand out, they're going to have to create the difference. Meaning, don't call it microneedling anymore. We all know what that is. You're not educating anybody. They can go on chat. They can API. You need to create more of the differences. And when I say that, I'm talking about even what you call it. Pairing it with something else. Don't say microneedling and IPL. Call it like the clear and brilliant branded, whatever.
What is your name for said service? What are you calling it? That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the sameness is not going to work anymore, because it's now, what was the difference 5 years ago is now everybody's saying it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not clear and brilliant. I know there's a clear and brilliant.
People get bored. I think it's also people get bored.
If I'm getting bored marketing a certain way, then someone else is getting bored listening to it.
Yeah. Which is why it's so relevant in both of our fields, to make sure that we are on top of the most recent trends and changes, educating people in a way that they're not used to being educated, presenting in a way that they're not used to being presented to.
Getting away from the same.
The benign.
But you know what? That's scary for a lot of people, because you're now taking a risk.
Change is scary for people.
I know.
I mean, me included. You know, change is hard. And I admire people.
I love change. Are you kidding me?
I admire people like you who are not afraid of change.
No,
I
get bored when I don't have change.
Yeah, you are energized by change. And I am, as much as I can adapt to change, I don't embrace change. I'm resistant until I'm forced to not be. Until I'm like, it's almost like an unknown surrender for me when I finally embrace change. It's like, oh, all right, we're here.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I crave it.
Moving 3,000 miles away was probably one of the biggest changes I've ever made in my life, and I don't know that I embraced it. You know, when I look at myself, as a person of my age now, my years old, and I look back at my younger self, and I think, why were you so afraid? Like, change, we equate change with bad things, and I think
I don't.
I know you don't, and I'm practicing the idea of, like, yes, it's change.
Yeah, but that's the only constant in our life.
Exactly. Right. It's nothing stays the same.
Never.
And so why
even
am I
if
surprised
you
by
could
change?
sit in your house and never leave and work on your computer and work from home and eat the same thing every day.
That would change.
It will change.
Yeah. And it's
you're getting older. Something's happening. You know, the world changes around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I admire that so much about you. It's something that I wish I was better at.
I love AI. This is why I love AI. It's something new and exciting and different, and we may have an entire plan on how to deal with it, and we may be wrong.
Yeah. I think the fear with AI comes from the inability to distinguish between free speech and monitoring of information, because there's so much false information out there.
Yes.
And I think AI is perceived as contributing to that. And so,
but it doesn't do that. I mean, I guess it could. Well, realistically, if you go, say you want to write a blog post, and you say I want to write a blog post, and there are a lot of prompts to make sure you're going to get the best out of AI, but we won't get into that now. And you write a blog post, and again, AI is supposed to have creativity part of it.
Yeah.
If you don't check your work and you put that out as
you're culpable.
Yeah.
Right. You're responsible.
I mean, you have to be responsible in a certain way. But also, another way I think AI is going to change things, and this is going to have a direct effect to you guys, is people are going to use AI for their websites, as they should. There are a lot of plugins there that help, and it's really great. But again, I think we have to think about the differences and getting away from the sameness and being more relatable as people. And your website should have that as well.
Yes.
Not that freaking professional talk where nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. Talk like people.
Yeah, like
I can help you.
Don't talk like an expert. Talk to a layperson,
right?
To a person who, as if, and not in a condescending way.
No, but they do say 5th to 8th grade education is how you should write.
Yes, absolutely. When
100%.
I went through a training. I can't say who it was because it's probably a copyrighted company, but I went through a training where it said, and you can check your...
Hemingway.
But you can also do it in Word, where you go in...
Oh, Word does the...
And it asks you... I can't remember what the setting is in Word, or in Outlook even. Where it checks your grade level of your writing, and it checks the fluidity of the email. Like, is it easy, like the ease of reading?
Right.
Because emails, if I want to engage with a business, my emails have to be between 100 and 150 words, no more, no less.
Yep. That is too much.
Business decision makers get
tons of emails all the time.
They don't have time.
Yeah, they don't have time. And you have to still stand out.
And that's where your subject line comes in.
Oh, it's the hook, honey.
Yeah.
We could have a whole 5 fucking hours on the hook.
I have a friend who his subject line is always my voicemail. Because then it makes you think you missed a voicemail from someone.
Oh, I like that.
And so they're like,
you know what's interesting? I never think about the hook, my subject line in an email. Now, a newsletter, I will go
have to have it.
7. I will spend hours on the hook for the newsletter because it makes a huge difference. Usually has nothing to do. It usually has to do with what I'm watching on TV.
Yeah, no.
And then the rest of the shit.
Yeah, no. The email in my business, the subject line is equally as important as the body of the email because it's the grab. It's like, why should I open this? Why should I read this? I have 800 emails.
I don't think my emails are sent for that reason.
No, your emails are sent to engage business.
Yeah.
To make purchases or to come into the door. My email is to get you to call me. Is to get me to have us to have
But the
a
hook is
conversation
everything.
Or a meeting.
Yeah.
And there's always an assume close in the meeting. Like, I have time this Monday at 9:30. Does that work for you?
And that's marketing in general,
close, right? Yeah, there's so many nuances to marketing.
It's good. I know we
could go on for hours.
Well, I think we should probably do one about just the hook or just.
Yeah.
I want to do one about how important email marketing is in general that nobody freaking does, and it makes me crazy. It's a direct line to your clients who already subscribe to you, who already want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
Don't mess up your email. It also helps to engage because if there are functioning links in the email, you're driving traffic to your website.
Well, you better have functioning links in the email. I know.
You're making an assumption.
I know.
You know what they say about assumptions.
All right. Well, so we're going to schedule you again.
I love that. This has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
My Bronx Jew.
Hey.
Yeah. Thanks.
She's like, oh my God, I have an hour's worth of material I now have to edit.
Let's put it on the calendar though, because that's great.
Hey, it's Maddie again. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Vitality Vault by Vitality Ventures Group. Big thanks for reaching all the way to the end. Since you got this far, we'd love to see you in our next episode. Lisa Tremaine, the founding director of the Center for Perinatal Mood and Anxiety Disorders, plus the co-founder of the Bloom Foundation, but also Shannon's best friend since elementary school in New Jersey. Come back to hear why she's referred to as a free-range rogue warrior. And like always, just in case, no legal or medical advice was intended in any portion of this, only for educational and entertainment purposes. Thanks again from Vitality Ventures Group. How are you using your power?